is.
Yeah, it shouldn't affect your ability to use the internet, but
I, I wouldn't think
Apple
so.
services can block clog things up. So there's an Apple status page, and it's been
Yeah,
pretty bad with
I posted it and stuff for
good.
folks to check it out.
All right,
Al, were you
before we
having
go into
problems?
the before we start the meeting, any other quick questions? Okie dokie. Let's go ahead and okie dokie. That over there. Put that over there. Fantastic. All right, everybody. So, yeah, 7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. I guess we're pretty much at 7:30. So, uh, Al always does such a great job, and he's got a few links he'll put in here. Al, you have some current news and stuff. Go right ahead. You want to share your screen, or
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I will undo my share.
Okay, here. Queue all this stuff up in these different screens here.
Yeah, it messes your screens around when it happens.
Okay, how about this guy here?
All right,
Okay, can you see that?
you bet.
All righty. Um, let me just cue this thing up here. Oops, right. Okay. Got a
Well,
8 or 10.
Al, I'm going through this stuff, so you need to
Okay. Okay.
not do that.
All right. Move on down to here. All righty. This is from 905 Mac. I guess on March 15th, Apple shipped their final public versions of iOS 15.4 and iPad OS 15.4. The release includes several noteworthy features and updates, such as the ability to unlock your phone while wearing a mask, support for universal control on the iPad, and for those running Mac OS 12.3, new emojis, new Apple Wallet widget, and a few more items. So check this link out. It's got
Yeah,
more information here that I'm gonna.
15.4. Yeah, the ability to unlock the mask is with
Yeah,
the mask is pretty good.
pretty good. Next up, a little something from see if there's a queue up here. Okay, here we go. How about that right there? Okay, something from Apple Insider. There's a we're all aware of current events and stuff, but a company in Ukraine called MacPaw, they're a Ukraine-based developer of a set app. It has it's created a Mac app for users to learn whether their data is held on Russian servers, which can potentially be read by that country's authorities. They're headquartered in Kyiv, Ukraine. MacPaw has told users that it's a software set app, Clean My MacX, and some others will work to continue despite the invasion of the country by Russia. Now the company has it's released its own internal security tools developed during the invasion. One of them is an app called Spy Buster. It's a free app that you can use to scan your Mac. It determines whether any apps are Russian or from Belarus, and also whether any data is sent to servers in those regions. So if you're concerned by anything like that, check it out. Okay. Are you going to talk about the studio display very much?
Yeah, a bit. We don't need to get into more detail than I'm going to
Okay.
cover. I don't
Yeah,
think.
no problem. Okay. Little tidbit here from 9 to 5 Mac about Apple's future plans as far as a larger screen. It apparently it has currently no plans to release a new larger screen iMac. Apple quietly discontinued a 27-inch iMac, which was sold with an Intel processor. And while the company told the press that 27-inch iMac is gone for good, rumors are suggesting that Apple has a new iMac Pro in the works. But apparently this is no longer the case either. Sources close to 95 Mac have told them that Apple has no current plans to release a larger screen iMac in the near future.
And we'll
So
go into
should
more
we?
detail on why that is probably the case when I
Uh-huh.
talk about the new products.
Okay. Okay. Moving on. Okay, according to this again from 9 to 5 Mac, according to their sources, the new iPhone 14 will be available in a 6.1 inch and a 6.7 inch versions, and the current 5.4 inch iPhone mini form factor will be discontinued. Other reports also suggest that Apple has been working on a satellite communications for their upcoming iPhones.
And you'll notice the rendering shows the notch at the top may be smaller and just
Yeah,
be a bubble now.
there's some other scuttlebutt I've got forthcoming here. Anyway, it's the features for the satellite capability. It's being tested, and the company has been testing prototypes that are capable of sending text messages over a satellite, and the system internally is known by the code name Stewie. Where they get these names, I'll never know.
Satellite Universal, ST.
Satellite Universal. So we'll see how that evolves.
Well, the thing is with satellite, again, the problem is a satellite to communicate with a satellite. The battery would be a huge drain on the battery.
Yeah.
If they can, and it only needs to do that when you're not in cell range. But I think, and I haven't read it anywhere, but I'm wondering if it's less of a satellite phone and, like you said, text, because text messages use very little data, but it still has to go. But I'm almost wondering if it would be as an emergency situation.
Yeah. I think I think there's a use case for that, and text only type of deal, and 911 out in out in Timbuktu, where there's little or no coverage. I think that might be helpful if you got a life and death situation. I think that would be a good capability to have.
And we do have the Starlink satellites up from SpaceX that are in a lower Earth orbit than the old geostationary satellites.
Vastly lower.
As far as I know, that there's no interface for the two companies.
No. I'm just saying. And there's others up there that are in low Earth orbit. There's there's two other companies that are doing it. So it's not as far reaching as it was with the big satellite phones.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Next up, we have we've talked about this in the past and stuff, but after announcing support for digital IDs in iOS 15 last year, Arizona is now the first state that has actually gone live with the feature. Arizona's residents can officially add their driver's license or state ID to the wallet app on their iPhone and Apple Watch.
I can't wait for it to happen here.
Yeah, nor I. Apparently, 30 other states have been exploring the idea of adoption of Apple's digital ID. Among those would be Connecticut, Georgia, Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Oklahoma, and Utah. And thinking about it, Colorado, Hawaii, Mississippi, Ohio, New York, the territory of Puerto Rico are committed to adopting the feature now. Apparently, selected TSA locations are set up to work with Apple IDs, but a specific list hasn't yet been shared. So Apple says for travelers should refer to TSA checkpoint signage to confirm availability. So,
and missing from that list was California.
Yeah, you would think that they'd be in the forefront of that.
Yeah, you would think, but
yeah,
they can't walk and chew gum.
Yeah, I guess not.
There was an article in the paper a few months ago that California was talking with Apple on this subject.
I had read something to that effect.
Where it ended up, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk is cheap.
Yeah, Yeah. Okay, next up, a little something from again from 9 to 5 Mac about the status of premium phones globally here. The premium smartphone sales reached a new record high in 2021. According to this new report, Apple takes the top slot in each of the 6 global regions. It's reached 60% sales share mark for the first time since 2017, driven by strong 5G upgrades for iPhone 12 and 13. So good to know that it's in high demand and
And they actually,
driving
a lot of
profitability.
it too is their phones cost more, so Apple's making more. Even though they don't sell more phones than other people, they sell they make the most money. But
Yeah,
it's working well.
yeah, yeah. Don't break don't
Yeah.
fix what's not broken. Next up, this again from 9 to 5 Mac. Uh, they've under display Face ID will debut in iPhone 15 Pro, apparently using Samsung tech. It's expected that the company will continue working towards a vision of what Johnny Ives used to call single slab glass, with an all display front hiding biometric authentication underneath the screen. So apparently this article, it goes into several different technical approaches, but it's,
Does it talk
it's on the
about Touch
horizon.
ID too at all, or just Face ID?
Well, there's a competing some of Samsung's technology, according to the article. Uh, Apple's not going to sign on to anything that doesn't incorporate that Face ID because of the Apple Pay and those kinds of things. And so let's see, if we scroll down a little bit further, they
But
have
I've read some other things where Samsung is also working on the Touch ID under glass.
haven't yeah, I have heard of that. You'd figure they'd have to have, it wouldn't hurt to have multiple approaches. I think there's a use case for you'll be in some ergonomic position or lack of ergonomic position to where you just need to grab it, and maybe your face is covered or
Yeah.
something to that effect, where you'd just rather have your finger make it accessible. So I think there's a use case for both of those. Next up, with everyone can't wait to get out of the COVID quarantine circumstance, with Apple's Shazam app. They have some let's see, by Shazamming a song, searching for it in the Shazam app or on the Shazam website, users can find concert information and tickets on sale for upcoming shows nearby. They can also launch a Shazam artist page to explore times, dates, locations of upcoming live shows. You can tap on any concert to view additional tour information, share show details, and add events to their calendar. Pretty seamless and apparently it's secure. One of
And for those
Apple's
that aren't aware, Shazam is owned by Apple now. And it was the app that originally, if you were in a restaurant or somewhere else and you hear music going, you hold your phone up to the speaker and it tells you what is playing. And that's integrated into Siri now, where you can just you can ask Siri and say what's playing and it will tell you. And then this is taking it even a little further, because in the past it would just, you could buy it or do whatever. But the reason for the name Shazam was when people have their phone and they hold it up to a speaker, they look like a superhero with their tool there, and so it was kind of like a Shazam, and that was how they came up with the name Shazam. And that's actually been Shazam was on the iPhone as one of the very, very first apps ever.
Yeah, I love it. It works pretty good, and it's amazing. A lot of times it'd be the same song, but each, if there have been lots of people that may have done a cover of it, and it'll give you what version, and who makes it. So it's pretty impressive that it samples that digital footprint of the audio, and can give you that information back in a flash. It's great. Just in time for reemergence of live music. I'm loving it. I go to concerts at every opportunity I get, being able to it's just a great tool. Great tool. Next up, a little something for automobile enthusiast. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there we go. This is from Tech Times. This is Apple has released a handy new feature via Apple CarPlay for drivers of Ford Mustang Mach-E. The feature creates a route to your preferred destination, including EV charging station along the way. Ford also has the EV mapping feature and is also coming to its other electric cars, including the F-150, Lightning, and the e-Transport. I'm sure probably you have some similar capability in your Tesla, Ken. But
yeah,
the fact that
it's built into the car, but there's an app, and when I first share my screen when we're done here, I'll show, because there's an app that's fantastic that I use that works for all EVs, and you put your car in. I'll show you that because we have a lot more people with EVs in our audience.
Yeah, nice.
That's
nice.
good pickup.
Yeah. And finally, a last little tidbit here is from Mac Rumors. iOS 15.4 and iPad OS 15.4 released last week. One of the changes is the addition of scan text shortcut for quickly scanning printed or handwritten text into the Notes app on the iPhone and iPad. Simply open the Notes app, you tap the camera icon, tap scan text, and tap the insert button once the text has been added to the note. The scan text shortcut has also been added to the Reminders app, so pretty handy. It's just pretty incredible the way it can read handwritten text like this and insert it wherever you need it. We all have tons of like this situation here, old recipes or things of that nature, and rather than try to type it all in yourself, this is a very handy tool. Anyway,
excuse me, I'm sorry, I missed the top of that screen. So which iOS version is this?
This is for iOS 15.4 and on your iPad as well, OS 15.4 for iPad OS. You bet. And you can you can see the rest of it there on Mac Rumors. All of these links I will post in the I'll compose a PDF at the end of the night, and typically I post it on Facebook and turn it into a nice PDF with the clickable links and the links that are generated here tonight. And so I encourage everyone to come to our Facebook page where we post all manner of Apple tech related items as the days go by, any late breaking things, and share news and discuss issues, and everyone's welcome to come. And that's it.
And Al's list will go out with the next blast also.
Yeah, and Al puts all his links in a PDF, and then he'll also be linking the rest of the stuff we're doing now. So just a quick follow-up to that routing thing. I want to show you what I use. And I just completed a 4,500 mile trip. Well, actually 4,400 mile trip. And I use this thing exclusively. So it's a weird name, and they do have an app that's just and it's abetterrouteplanner.com. And I subscribe to it, but it's free. So what I've got here is a little thing where I used a Tesla Model 3. So I would say going from my home address to Rifle, Colorado, because it's right around 1,000 miles. So it's going to calculate it here, and it shows you where you need to stop for how long. And this would be in a Tesla Model 3. And then it shows some other routes here that you could take. And then what I really like is when you pull the data up on it, it shows you, like in this case, to travel those 1,000 miles in a Tesla Model 3, it would be $56. And in that 1,000 miles, you're driving for 13 hours and you're only stopping for 2 hours and 33 minutes. And if you think about it, you're probably going to spend about 40 minutes for lunch and about an hour for dinner along the route while you're charging. So realistically, the rest of the time charging, you barely have time to even go to the bathroom. So I'm going to bring this back one time and just show you for comparison. So again, that's a Tesla Model 3. $56 is what it costs to drive that. This is assuming you start with a full charge. And 2 hours and 33 minutes of charging. So now let's go back and I will select a different car. So you click the car model and you'll notice it has a lot of the different brands here and stuff. So let's just go pick, oh, the Audis are pretty popular. I'll try picking Audi here. And click there, and Q4 e-tron. And I'll pick one of the mid ones here. Let's say, and then we go back and we will have it do that same route. And what we'll do here is, so it's using Electrify America, and instead of 50-something dollars, it's $162, and it's 5 hours and 53 minutes worth of charging. And that's using Electrify America and higher end charging. So I illustrate this as the advantage to the Tesla network. But secondly, these public chargings, this is still cheaper than gas. That's about what, 16 cents a mile, where gas probably costs right now around 30 cents a mile, depending on your car. So anyway, a better route planner. I encourage you, if you look at electric cars, I would, if you're thinking about it, I would plug in the electric cars you're looking at and see what it's like for charging on the road. As far as within 100 miles of your house, everybody's going to be the same. You charge at home. If you're in SMUD, it's going to be about 3 cents a mile. If you're on PG&E, it's going to be about 5 to 6 cents a mile charging at home. So that was, since Apple has, and Apple Maps does have the charging thing, but this one is incredible. And by the way, I can set different things like what if you use the subscription, this uses real-time wind and temperature considerations on it. And you can say, okay, I'm carrying extra people in my car, or I've got a rack on the top, things like that. But I should point out that all of these that do these range estimates do take into account up and down, hills and declines. So all of those take that into account. All righty. So let's go back to the keynote here.
Is Electrify owned by Walmart?
Oh, Electrify America is at many Walmarts, but what Electrify America is the VW in their Dieselgate settlement. Part of their agreement was to spend $2.5 billion building out the charging network. And so they're doing that, but nobody said that they had to let people charge for a low price. So it is a profit center, just like a gas station would be. And that's why the difference in the prices. But Electrify America they're probably 3 to 5 years behind Tesla, but they're doing a pretty good job. Their systems are networked fairly well, but they don't have a lot of outlets at different ones. Just to put it in perspective, I'll go to one quick other little website that shows you every one of these red dots is a Tesla supercharging station, and they average 12 chargers at every station. There's some chargers down in the Central Valley that in the next couple months will have over 100 chargers. And then if you look in the high density areas, so the little cone means it's under construction and the little blue means it's under permit. So Tesla is really rolling this out, and they are in a couple countries, and at some point they will be here opening up their charging networks to other companies. So anyway, that's kind of the state of the charge as it is. All right. Any other questions on that while I'm switching to the keynote? Great. So let's go and see if we have any volunteer or member announcements. Anybody have anything? You can raise your hand, and I ask the co-host because I don't have a good Vic Gallery view. If you can tell me if anybody has their hand up. Joellen, go right ahead.
This one's easy, and I did get my my Ecobee to hook up to the
Great.
whatever, so that's done. Thank you. I have an Apple Watch that isn't working anymore and isn't worth repairing. I wondered if anybody who likes to tear things apart to see what's inside. I'd be happy to donate it.
If so, you guys can chat with Joellen. You could rate. You could speak up if you want now.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is,
I was wondering if Dick Warner might be interested in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. For the guy who tears all of our stuff apart, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when I bought my Series 7, I gave my Series 4 to a friend who's kind of a curmudgeon about new technology, and she loved it, but it worked only for about 3 weeks, and then the little turner thing stopped.
Digital crown.
Yeah, the crown broke. So that was bizarre. I mean, it worked for me for years, and then she has it for 3 weeks and it craps out. So that was too bad. And even though she loved it, she doesn't need more technology. So she's not going to buy an Apple Watch.
Oh gosh. Well, you tried.
Yep. Okay. So if anybody wants it, send me a chat.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, Richard.
Dick wants.
Richard Warner Dick Warner does all the our labs and stuff.
Right. Okay. Well, send me a text or something, Dick.
Okay, I will.
Great.
Thanks, Joellen. Okay, go ahead, Lisa. You're muted.
Sorry. We have someone logged in as the initial T. If they could give us a first and last name for the raffle.
Yeah, if you're a member, we have to have first and last name to verify your membership to participate in the raffle, the virtual raffle that we'll have at the end. So if you can't change your name, just speak up, unmute yourself, and we can change it for you. Thanks, Lisa, for that.
Okay. Oh, it's Tom Wing, W-I-N-G. Thank you.
Thank you.
W-I-N-G.
Yeah, he's good.
Got it.
And can one of you co-hosts change the name then, please?
I will do that.
Thank you very much. All right. No other announcements, and we kind of did tech Q&A already. Is there anybody that has any questions at this point for tech Q&A? And I don't think we had anybody in the Mac. And Lisa, did you raise your hand again?
No, I meant to lower it.
No problem. I got it. Georgiana, go ahead.
Sorry, I was coming in and out. I'm helping my mom. The iPhone 14 that Al was talking about, when is that supposed to come out?
September or October. It's the
fall.
The fall. Okay, great. Well, I'm just waiting for my tax refund. I was going to buy a 13 Pro. Well, maybe I need to wait a few more months.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a big deal, but if, it's only March, so it depends on how long you want to wait. There's probably deals on 13s now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe there might be a deal.
There'll be better deals when the 14 comes, better deals on the 13s when the 14s come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'll keep that in
what
mind.
model are you on now?
Oh, a 7 Plus, which I bought a month after the 8 came out.
Yeah, I'll tell you, huge.
And I think I paid like $200 for it. So
huge leap, and you can check with your carrier to see if they have any deals. And then the other thing is, if you're looking for a new iPhone, and you thinking about changing carriers, you can really leverage that together. So, all right. So I should point out on the screen here, the upper right corner, that was me in front of the Matterhorn. So, all right. So anybody else for tech Q&A before we move on? I think since we started late, I'll just go into the presentation. We might even get done in time. So very quickly, again, there's the Matterhorn. I'm going to go through my recent trips. There's me. Notice the bar stool. These are pretty cool. This was in this was in Italy, and they're pretty cool bar stools. This is up on the hill on the ski at the ski resort, and it's amazing when you go to the ski resorts there, both in Switzerland and there. You sit down at a table. They come over and they have a little iPad or an iPhone. They take your order. Somebody else brings your order out. They've got cloth napkins with real silverware, and it's really, really cool. And on the right here, this was at formerly called Squaw Valley Palisades. This is my nephew's 15-year-old son that came out and skied 3 days with me. So that was pretty cool. He's the only other one in the Spencer family that skis. So that was fun. That was last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There, this is at North Star. That's him again, and you'll notice that's Lake Tahoe in the background. This spot at North Star is very, very good, and those were the only clouds all day. So I did a big ski tour. I started in Park City with our ski club from here for a week. I skied with my best friend from high school at Alta. Then I went down to Tucson and took some photos of some sandhill cranes. There were thousands of them in this area. And then I went to Taos, New Mexico, and Telluride, Colorado, two pretty distant ski areas. This is all driving in my electric car. And I ended up in Snowmass with another, Snowmass in Aspen, with another ski club to finish off that 4.5-week tour. But I research the cities when I go. So here in, I want to say this was Santa Fe. It's either Taos or Santa Fe. I can't remember. But anyway, it's home of the world famous Frito pie. This is a 5 and dime store, and it's a great store inside and everything. But what a Frito pie is, and then of course after I had one, I saw them at every restaurant I was at and everything. A Frito pie is a bag of Fritos. They're very common in Colorado and New Mexico. It's a bag of Fritos, and they put chili, onions, and cheese into the open bag, and it's Frito pie. So, it was great to do it, and especially because I did it at the original store that started this long ago. And anyway, it wasn't too bad, but I wouldn't go out of my way for it. But it was cool. And in this town, I love pozole soup, Mexican pozole soup, and they had the absolute best pozole ever in a restaurant about a block from here. So then I went and skied Taos, Taos in New Mexico. It's a very good ski area. There wasn't much new snow. It's really known for it. But I love the fact of their low-key shuttle here. It's a pickup truck, flatbed pickup with essentially a horse trailer, and that's how they get people from the parking lot over to the lodge. So it was really very Western, and they had Spencer's Bowl. So that was pretty cool. Spencer's Bowl was not too skiable. It was pretty iced over, and there were unmarked obstacles. So unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to ski it. But actually, you can see a mixture of aspens and pines around and stuff. And then I stayed at this wonderful bed and breakfast in Taos,
Nice.
and nearby, I ate at this hole-in-the-wall Mexican place. And this church is one of the most photographed churches in the whole Western U.S. And it's an adobe church, and it's been there since the 1700s. So it was really, really, really cool. And this is the little town of Silverton, Colorado. And you go along from Ouray, which is Ouray, to Silverton, and it's called the $1 Million Highway. And it's the $1 Million Highway because it was so expensive to do it, because it's basically on the side of these rock ledges. And it's a big drop down on the side, and there's no guardrail because they have to be able to plow it in the winter. So luckily it was in good shape when I went, and it wasn't scary, but it was really, it was exciting. So this is just one of the little towns, and you notice there's a elk over on top of the building. It's just crazy. Very quiet little camp. Oops. I guess I did the Frito twice. So now I'm in Telluride, Colorado, and this was the sunset I had during the first evening there. And that's about it for the trip. So now we're going to move into the discussion tonight is twofold. It's about the new Apple products that Al started on. And let me see here why I'm not full screen. Hang on. There we go. So the event, this was the cool logo invitation that was sent out. And the event was on March 8th. And it was peak performance. And some people, I remember when Pete was on, they speculated that one of these may have looked like a virtual reality headset. Well, unfortunately, we didn't get that, but we got some pretty exciting things. So we got a new Mac. No. We got an iPhone 13 Pro in green now. So there's a neat green color with it. So it's unchanged on specs. So that was just kind of an add-on to try generate a little more excitement for the 13, which in fact it's been selling like crazy. But they did introduce a new version of the iPhone SE. Now, if you think back, the iPhone SE started life as an iPhone 5. And then when they updated it, they called it the SE Special Edition. And the SE stands for that. And it's been Apple's most, it's the most cost-effective phone. Previously, it was $399, and they've upped it to 5G, and they put the same chip that the iPhone 13 has in it, and upped the specs, and I believe it's the same size, and they have a new color, and it's $429 now. And part of that is, you got to remember that with the chip shortage and everything else, the cost of goods for these products would render that, but also the 5G chip. So to add $30 to the previous one, I think is a very good value. So it's available, and I think it's a great phone. It has only a single lens camera, so if you really want to take some high quality photos, the 13 is still the way to go. And I always tell people, you have the 13 and the 13 Pro. If you just are taking snapshots with your phone, you're fine with it. You can go with the 13 or the 13 mini. Or if you really are doing photography and want to have great quality pictures, you go with the 13 Pro because you have one more lens, and it's the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max. But the iPhone SE has a good camera, but it's a single lens. There's only one. You only get one lens instead of 2 or 3 like in the 13 and the 13 Pro. Any questions on the SE as we go along? Okay. So then they introduced a new iPad Air, and the new iPad Air has the M1 chip in it. So it's amazing. The M1 chip is very, very, very fast, and the iPad Air, they did some new colors. There was a newer blue and a newer green on it. So the iPad Air is really, really a deal now. Now at $599, it's almost double the price of what you can get the regular iPad for. But it has much more processing power. It's got a better screen on it, and it just is speed. Oh, and the camera is slightly better. So that's the iPad Air. That was one of the other introductions. The other thing is they introduced, and this was actually before the lockout had been resolved, but now that it's resolved, there'll be 2 games every Friday night on Apple TV Plus and they'll be exclusive on Apple TV Plus. So those were the first of the main announcements for the peak performance event. Adding to that were two things, and it's based on Studio. Now you have the new Studio display, and you have the new Mac Studio. I'm going to talk about the display first. So the display is a 5K display. That's incredible, great resolution with it. That has great specs, its brightness, its everything. It is a very competent display, and it's not the same as the $6,000 display, but it's a very good display. It also incorporates the 12 megapixel camera that uses center stage, which the iPad Pros have now, which the new iPhone does, which allows you, if you're doing either a FaceTime call or if you're doing Zoom, what happens is you have the ability, it will zoom into one person, and if you have 4 people standing next to each other, it basically widens out to that. Or if you're moving around and you're doing a cooking demonstration or things like that, the camera is so wide that it kind of follows you. So it's almost like having somebody running a camera for you to some extent. Obviously, there's some limitations to what it will do. But that's what Center Stage is, and I'm sure Al will be putting a link to Center Stage, which will tell you more about it. But it is nice that that's included in the new screen. So also by having such a high resolution camera, you're going to be better for video chat. I will mention one thing. The people that have gotten the early studio displays have talked about the people looking very flat. In other words, just not great features. Apple has promised that there's a software update coming that will improve the quality of that picture, and they can do that with software. I should point out there's actually storage, as Al started to link in an article. There's storage in this, and it's the A13, which is the chip that came in the iPhone 11, if I'm not mistaken. And it's so there's a lot of processor horsepower going on inside what is really just a display. So it also has 6 speakers. It's a fairly thin display, but the way they've put the speakers in there, the fidelity is supposed to be fantastic, and it will accommodate Apple's spatial audio, which is beyond Dolby. It's a very, very, very good thing. And it says here it's so much more than a display. And there's what it looks like. It starts at $15.99, which is pricey, but if you think about it, you know, you can hook like I'm going to hook my 14-inch MacBook Pro up to it, and I won't need to get an iMac. So this is a 27-inch display, and the whole idea is you could put the new M1 Mac Mini attached to it, and you're still going to be the price about it what it would be for an iMac, or you can put the new Studio under it. Here's a couple other things. This is the spatial audio again with the big speakers. 1 Thunderbolt and 3 USB-C ports on the back. So you can connect things to it, and then it connects to your Mac. This is it in the profile. That's what the standard stand looks like. And then you have an option for 2 other stands. You have to buy it the way you want it. So on the left is the stand that comes for $15.99. The middle one, you'll notice there's a joint in there, and it's very similar to the old iMac that had the screen, but it adjusts up and down and in and out. So it does articulate quite well. And then on the right is if you want to use a Visa mount, a VESA, a Visa mount, which is what most of the hydraulic arms or the wall mounts and things like that use. You have to
And-
specify it when you buy it.
Ken,
Yeah?
I'm sorry, are you taking questions while you're talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
this?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm intrigued by the middle stand, how long that middle piece is.
It'll be,
You know?
if you go to the studio display and go to tech specs,
Uh-huh.
it will define that for you.
Oh, okay,
And I'm not sure. I think it's $200 more. I don't have it right in front of me. But it is an upgrade. It might be up to $19.99.
Yeah, it's $400.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
$400
It's
more.
$19.99.
great, thank you.
But it is, but then the other thing is you could always go with the Visa mount and then have an articulating arm that you like. But this one is really good because it's spring loaded for the weight of the display.
Mhm.
I happen to be looking at that today, that piece is 106 millimeters, which
The
is
length
rough,
is, Bob,
106 millimeters, which is roughly around 4 inches, give or take.
106 millimeters in inches. 4.17 inches.
Yeah,
You were very close, Bob. So that gives you an idea there. Good question. So the other thing here is they're showing how you can pair it with your Macs. Of course, a MacBook Air on the left or one of the new MacBook Pros on the right. The M1 Mac Mini is there. And the really nice thing is the new Mac Studio actually sits under it. It could even sit right on the stand, but it fits under the side. And then of course the Mac Pro, which is going to be outdated fairly soon. In fact, the new Studio, which we're going to talk about in a second, there are some specs on it that are faster than the Mac Pro and for considerably less. So the Mac Studio it's kind of like a Mac Mini on steroids. The footprint, if you'll notice, is fairly close to the same footprint as on the perimeter as the Mac Mini on the right, but this one has an SDXC card slot in the front, 2 USB-C connectors. In the back, you've got 4 Thunderbolt connectors. You've got Ethernet. That's the power plug that looks like Mickey Mouse. You've got 2 USB-A. You've got HDMI. And you've got a headphone or speaker jack, and of course the power button. And you notice on this, there's lots of holes. I think it's like 2,000 underneath, and then these are the holes on the back. So it has fans, but it also uses convection. The air comes in from underneath and blows out of the top. And the fans are virtually silent, and they won't be running very often because the M1 chip, well, it depends too, because there's some very powerful chips you can put in this. They've come up with some new ones. So you have the M1 from before, now the M1 Max, which was already out, but then they have now developed the M1 Ultra. And again, remember, these are all based on the same chip that's in the iPhone. And so therefore they don't use a lot of heat and they use very little energy. This one on the right, the M1 Ultra, is a screamer, very powerful. And what it does is, if you look at the left, so the M1 chip that's in the iPad and in essentially in the phone, and then in the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, they all use the M1. Then the M1 Pro, you'll notice the die is what they call it. The size of the die of the silicon is larger, so therefore it has more power. Then the M1 Max, which is you're able to get on the 14 and the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And on, that's the first one you can get in the Mac Studio. And then the M1 Ultra, and what that is 2 M1 Max chips connected together with a very proprietary, very new connection that makes it, in the past, it's always been a a place where there was really a slowdown. It passes so much data between the two chips, it acts like one chip. It's amazing how quick the I/O is on that. So that's the M1 Ultra, and that you pay a lot more for because it's two chips, and therefore it's going to have a little more cooling and stuff in the new Mac Studio, and that will be more powerful than the current Mac Pro. We have very few people in our audience that would need the Ultra. They would be fine with the Macs. And to be honest, they would be fine with the M1 that I forgot to mention is also in the Mac Mini. So the big thing is when you get up to other than the original M1, the original M1 will support 2 monitors on a Mac Mini, but on all the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, it will only support, without doing tricks, it will only support the additional monitor than what you have on your screen. With the M1 Pro, you can do, I believe, 3 monitors, and then with the Max, you can do more, and with the Ultra, you can do, I think, up to 6 displays, if I'm not mistaken. And these things are just ultra powerful. And they're very efficient, and so in the case of the laptops, you get very good battery life. So these mean a lot to a lot of people, but if you think about that, there's 57 billion transistors, and it does 11 trillion operations per second. This would, of course, be on the Ultra. 5 displays. It can do up to 8 terabytes. And I think I have a slide here. You can do 18 streams. In other words, you could be having 18 8K movies running at the same time. So this is really for video powerhouses, but it really tells you what kind of power this stuff has. Melissa, go right ahead.
Thanks. Now the studio box connects to the display via HDMI?
No, it can, but you wouldn't want to. It's not, there's not enough bandwidth coming through that. You would use Thunderbolt. Okay. So the display comes with Thunderbolt 4, and it's a cable that would go to the Mac Studio or to the new laptops. But you could use HDMI if you just want an HDMI monitor, but there's very few 8K HDMI monitors around. There's a lot of 4K though. So it would work with that, but with the display you would use, and the display comes with 1 meter Thunderbolt 4 cable. And then the rest of the monitors would be connected by, you can use USB-C, but in this case, you would use the other 3 Thunderbolt connectors. And in fact, some Thunderbolt monitors, you can daisy chain them. Thunderbolt has tremendous amount of more bandwidth than HDMI. Good question.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, and of course here, since I was just talking about it, so here's the front with 2 USB-C, the SD card slot, and on the back, again, these are Thunderbolt. So while they're the same shape, you can interchange the plugs between these two. USB-C is not as fast or has as much bandwidth as Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt 4 is great. So, and then you still have good old USB-C, so you could, USB-A, so you could plug in an external hard drive for backup or things like that. And yes, there is HDMI, but I don't think it has the bandwidth you need for it. And I thought I read somewhere where this is, I think they call this Pro Audio or something. This is a little bit beyond a regular headphone jack. It can transmit digital audio to a greater extent. So any question on the iPhone SE, the iPad Air, the Studio display, and this is called the Mac Studio is what it is. Mac Studio. So we got the Mac Mini and the Mac Studio. Anybody got any questions on those?
Yeah, on the Mac Studio.
Yeah.
Will that work with an older computer like a MacBook Pro or something that does not have an
Oh, the
M1 chip?
studio display?
Yes.
Um, no, I think it has to be as long as you have, it might work with Thunderbolt 2, but I would say I would go look in the specs and see because I didn't look at that. So
Okay, thank you. I'll check it out.
it depends on how, are you looking for, you said a MacBook Air?
Well, I have a MacBook Pro, but it's a little bit older. It does not have the M1 chip.
Okay, but yeah, and I don't know if that's a requirement. I'm sure by now Al has probably linked it. But it's how old is the MacBook Pro?
It's like a year or maybe 2 years old. It has Thunderbolt
I
ports.
would go into the studio and go and look at specs. It'll tell you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know that offhand.
So Ken, I have a question. Do you use that with like a wireless keyboard?
You could use wired or wireless because you've got the USB-C ports on the back. Apple's what I would recommend with this is Apple's new Magic Keyboard that has the fingerprint reader on it because it's so nice now. In fact, I use my laptop closed as a clamshell. I have the 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro, and because the fingerprint is used to unlock it, but also to fill in passwords and everything else, I really like the new keyboard that Apple has. And the new keyboard can be the regular short keyboard, or it has the number keys on it, the 10 key, and they are rechargeable batteries. And that rechargeable battery is just a regular uses a lightning connector.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And by the way, so this studio, Mac Studio, is much more powerful than the current laptops, but the current laptops are more powerful than the Mac Mini. Oh, and we shouldn't neglect, there's the M1 iMac, the 24-inch, that is an incredible machine, and it's 24 inches, and it kind of replaced the old 20-inch. But now when we look at it, it probably replaced the 24 and the 27 is what it really did. And it's a very capable machine. So that's the dream team.
Just
So
one
now we're gonna
comment if
talk-
you got time.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have the new M1 Pro MacBook Pro 16-inch, and I'm one of the very first to have gotten one. I saw the announcement on March 8th, and I mean on October. Okay, yeah, September. And 10 minutes after the presentation was over, I had it on order. But the really interesting thing about it is, as you mentioned, the battery life. I used it all day yesterday unplugged, and it still said 81% at the end of the day. And the other thing, I was accustomed to using my previous MacBook Pro as a finger warmer. In the mornings when it was cold, I'd put my fingers up at the base of the screen where the heat from the microprocessor is, and that would warm my fingers. No warming in this new one. It just doesn't put out any heat. It's really amazing.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I mean, the battery life, it is truly an all-day battery. It's just amazing.
Actually,
And
a couple of days.
And it doesn't get hot.
Right.
So, and you know what? Because it doesn't get hot, maybe they can go back to calling them laptops. Because if you remember, back in the day, they were first called laptops, and then they changed it to notebooks because people were complaining that they got hot on their lap and they were worried that there was some sort of liability with that. So
Right. Yep.
anyway, yeah, I have the 14 inch and I love it. And just you know, since I travel a lot, one consideration I had on my recent trip when I went to Jordan and Egypt and Morocco, I had the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the M1. I didn't order the 14-inch because it would have come in while I was gone, so I waited on that. And then I found that that fit in about 80% of the hotel safes. And I had been contemplating, and I'm glad I waited because I was contemplating getting the 16-inch iMac, or I'm sorry, the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And after I traveled, I started looking at it, and only about 20% of the hotel safes would I have been able to fit the 16-inch in. So I'm glad that I took the trip in between and I ended up ordering the 14, and it'll fit in probably about the same amount of hotel safes that it did it. Here's a little trick to that. So there's a device I got and it hangs on a hanger and it's just some pouches. And the idea is you put your laptop and your iPad in this and you put a shirt or a jacket over the hanger and it hides the pouch that holds your devices because nobody's going to break into your closet and steal an old dirty shirt or anything like that. And the laptops can stay in there. So that's just a little trick of a thing I found on Amazon that works. So, Ray, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I was going to say I concur with Richard too. I got the 16-inch M1 Max, and I used it for 4 hours in a meeting on Sunday. And after the meeting, I checked the battery life, and it said 96% left.
Yeah,
Just amazing.
it's just amazing. And again, to put it in perspective, it's very close to the exact same chip that's in your iPhone and your iPad. And so it is designed from the ground up to be very efficient and not have a lot of heat. And it's amazing what it can do. And so then, like for the new Mac Studio, that's where they have the Ultra. That thing would probably burn a hole in your pocket if it was in the back of an iPhone, if it could fit, because it's got a machine that has a fan and everything else. In fact, the M1 chip in the MacBook Air doesn't even have a fan. It doesn't need it. So it's a whole new thing. And I think we did a presentation when they first came out and showed you a lot of the different things. So Barbara, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, has anyone heard any information about whether they're going to maybe upgrade the chip on the iMac, even now they're not going to do the larger one?
Well, no, they already have. They have the 24-inch iMac, but there was talk of an iMac Pro, but to be honest, that there weren't a lot of those, and I really think the Studio Display and the Mac Studio are kind of taking the place of that. Al linked the article. I still in my mind, I think they're going to come out with a 30-inch iMac Pro, but I don't know. This satisfies that same category in a little different way, and it makes it, because it's nice because now we can get, and these displays are calibrated from the factory to be color accurate, and I see where this can take the place of this 27-inch iMac, but don't not think about the 24-inch iMac, because that's an incredible machine.
And I
Even
just,
with just the regular standard M1 chip.
What's that?
Even with just the M1 chip, you think that's plenty? You shouldn't wait around for an upgrade.
Depends
chip.
on, it depends on what you're doing. If you're editing 4K video or 8K video, you really need the Studio Pro. If you're not doing that, if you're just doing pedestrian type things, here's your choices. You have MacBook Air, 13-inch MacBook Pro, or the 14 and the 16, or the studio display in the Mac Mini, or the studio or with the laptops, or the studio display with the Mac Studio if you're doing heavy lifting.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it kind of satisfies it, and you know, the versatility of having a monitor there that is a little more it's nice, the all-in-one, but I think, you know, it's what they're doing, because if you think about it, they try to have as few SKU numbers and models of different things than they can.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Somebody else had a question there, I think.
Ken, I found some information about what Mac models the Studio Display supports. And I
Great.
posted the link and the information in the chat.
You know, I'm going to pull that up really quick because that's a
It's
good.
down at the bottom.
Right there, download blog. Oh,
It's
right.
down at the very
Studio Display supports the following Mac models running Monterey. So 2019 or later MacBook Pro 16-inch. Somebody, that's what you were asking about. Was it a 16-inch MacBook Pro that you were asking about on the Studio Display? So the 16-inch 2019 or later. 14-inch, obviously they started in 2021. The 13-inch, MacBook Pro 2016 or later. 15-inch MacBook Pro 2016 or later. So that's not bad. MacBook Air, 2018 or later. Part of the problem with the older MacBook Airs is they didn't have a really good graphics card. Mac Mini 2018 or later. And then Mac Pro 2019 or later. Oh, you can hook it to the new 24-inch iMac, or a 2017 or later 27-inch, or a 2017 or later 21.5-inch. So that's actually pretty good. That's a decent amount, and it does say you have to be running Monterey. So, and
So it just
Monterey
means you have to buy a bigger desk.
What's that?
You have to buy a bigger desk.
Well, not if you had a 27-inch iMac you're replacing it with. So.
Well, no, see, I would hook it up to my I have a 2019 27-inch iMac, so which it works with. So
yeah, and I'm a 2-monitor person. I'm looking at you right now with I have and I hate to say it, it's a Samsung because I hate supporting Samsung, but I have a 32-inch Samsung, and then I have a 27-inch Apple Cinema display or Thunderbolt display that's hooked to my 14-inch. And I find at one point a long time ago I had 3 monitors, and I was more efficient with 2 monitors than 3.
Mhm.
So unfortunately I don't have a reason to buy the Studio, but I may still try to.
I'm gonna get one. Ken, this link also says that the Studio Display is actually compatible with some iPads. 11-inch iPad Pro, 3rd generation or later.
Oh yeah, it would be any of the
5th
iPads.
generation iPad
You
Air,
have to have USB-C.
and have to be using iPad OS
15.4.
15.4. Yeah.
Right. So I believe that both of those iPads have USB-C, if I'm not mistaken. Although the 11-inch, I think, was Lightning. Yeah, the 11-inch might have been Lightning, and that's interesting. So anyway. All right. So moving on to the last subject. And I'm going to have to refer to some videos on this because it's universal control. And thank you to Bob White for bringing this up and mentioned it around, because I hadn't even really explored it, and it's really cool, but it's very hard to display on Zoom. So therefore, what I'm going to do is I've got 2 videos to show you, and I also sent Al links from 5 different places that have 6 to 10-minute videos that show you much more about universal control. But we want to whet your appetite with it, and you have to be on Monterey. You have to have some newer devices, but It's really cool. I'll go through the videos and then we'll talk about it a bit. But universal control is so you can use your Apple keyboard, whether it be on a laptop, whether it be on a studio or an iMac, and it lets you use your keyboard and mouse on up to 2 other Apple devices. And pretty darn cool. So, and it's seamless once it's set up. So let me go into, so this this isn't the video, is it? There we go.
I'm putting the finishing touches on an illustration here on my iPad. It's the last piece I need to finish a presentation that I have open on my MacBook. Now, I'll just set my iPad down next to my Mac.
Can you guys hear that okay? Not
I had to
Yes.
turn the volume up, but yes.
okay. I'm going to change the audio source because it switched to it. I meant for it to be. Hang on. That's why I asked, and I'll start it over again. It's supposed to be from the Mac speakers to there. Let me go to system preferences. I find that it's better if I do it. Okay, where's my system preferences? I checked this beforehand and I had it set and now it didn't. So one sec here. My system preference screen is hidden. Where in the heck? It's actually not active. Oh my gosh, it's on my laptop screen. Okay, hang on here. No, it's not. There we go. Hang on one sec. Sorry about this. It's been the night of glitches. So output, MacBook Pro speakers. That's what I want. Input, MacBook Pro microphone. Okay. Tell me if this sounds better.
And check this out. Without any other setup, I'm going to simply move my Mac cursor
Much better.
towards my
Yes.
iPad, and the iPad automatically recognizes it. And if I move a bit further, boom.
That's better?
Much better.
Okay, good. I'll go ahead and start that over. Thank you for bearing with me.
I'm putting the finishing touches on an illustration here on my iPad. It's the last piece I need to finish a presentation that I have open on my MacBook. Now, I'll just set my iPad down next to my Mac. And check this out. Without any other setup, I'm going to simply move my Mac cursor towards my iPad, and the iPad automatically recognizes it. And if I move a bit further, boom, my cursor is now on the iPad. How cool is that? And now I can move my cursor back and forth effortlessly between the two. Now it's easy to control my iPad with just the keyboard and trackpad on my Mac. For instance, I can click and close this document and flick on my trackpad to return to my iPad home screen. Of course, I can swipe between my pages of apps, and I can use my MacBook's keyboard to open Spotlight and say, launch notes, and even use Command Tab to switch back to Procreate. This is really powerful. With universal control, I can even drag and drop files between my devices. I'm just going to take this drawing I finished on my iPad and drop it on the keynote on my Mac. Awesome. For our pros out there, universal control works with more than 2 devices. So let's add this iMac into the mix. Now I can use the trackpad on my MacBook to control my iMac as well. I can also switch to use my iMac's keyboard and mouse. And this is so cool. Watch this. Now, I have a title text image I've been working on here in Procreate on my iPad. Now I'm going to take this image and drag it across all 3 devices and drop it in to Final Cut. Just like that. Let's see the final product. Nice. That's a quick look at Universal Control on macOS Monterey.
So while you can do that, you cannot bring like an iPad app over to the iMac and vice versa. You can drag files across, you can copy and paste images and all that stuff, but you can't obviously do the applications. So I've got one other video for you here.
Starting in macOS 12.3 and iPadOS 15.4, you can use Universal Control to work seamlessly across up to 3 of your compatible devices. Here's how. In this video, we'll show you how to set up Universal Control on your Mac and iPad and how to use it. To set up Universal Control on your Mac, in the Displays pane of System Preferences, click Universal Control. Then, click each checkbox to select them. To set up Universal Control on your iPad, in Settings, choose General and tap AirPlay and Handoff. Then, tap to turn on Cursor and Keyboard. To use Universal Control, make sure you're signed in to the same iCloud account on all your devices, and place your Mac and iPad next to each other. This works with up to 3 compatible devices. Now, you can use a single keyboard and mouse or trackpad to move between your Mac computers and iPad, and even drag and drop content. Set up, sign in, control.
So pretty cool. Let me look at one thing because we might be able to do, let's see, YouTube, Apple support sidecar.
It does support sidecar.
Yeah, so I was going to pull up sidecar too, but it looks like it's unavailable.
Actually, it's quicker than that, Ken.
It's right.
Once you set up Universal Control, you have an icon up in your toolbar at the top, and you can just switch on the fly between Universal Control and Sidecar.
So what Sidecar is the ability to use an iPad as a second monitor for your computer. And in fact, let's say you were using the iPad with a pencil and you were trying to do some artistic work and things like that. You're actually doing it on the iPad, but it's showing up and modifying it on your computer. So the Universal Control does more than Sidecar, but Sidecar is good for that specific thing if you want to use your iPad more or less like a tablet that you can draw on images and things like that. So Universal Control is you have to be on Monterey, you have to be on I think you have to be on 15.4, and there's only newer models that support it, but there's quite a breadth of models. So I think that's fantastic. So I'm gonna undo my share and
tell a little quick story on myself.
Great.
You don't actually have to have the 2 devices right next to each other. Here's what happened today was my computer is at the end of the dining room, and my iPad was active on the table behind me. I happened to go all the way to the right with the mouse when I was doing something. Okay, where'd the damn mouse go? I looked around, I moved my hand, and sure enough, it was on the iPad.
Yeah.
That
So,
was one of those
no, yes, you
what the hell
can do it.
moments.
Yes, you can do it at a distance, but no, you shouldn't. That's great, Bob. All right. So, any other questions before we move on to the raffle? Anybody? Go ahead and raise your hand using the thing down below. Or you can unmute yourself and speak up.
I've never understood how to raise my hand.
Okay. Are you on a Mac?
Yes.
Down at the very bottom of the screen, do you see the kind of the toolbar for Zoom where it says a microphone on the left?
Yep.
Go over to reactions. And if you click on reactions,
Oh, reactions. I've never seen that.
Raise hand, or you can,
Gotcha.
the other
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, that's a good
I
reminder
had never
for
paid
everybody.
attention to
If you're
that.
on an iPad or an iPhone, you tap the screen and you look for the ellipsis, the three dots, and when you tap those, there should be a raise hand also. I like it.
Okay.
Everybody else is putting in the thumbs up and the party and everything else on the reaction.
Okay.
Good deal. Al, do you have anything else to add since you had all the, did I cover enough of the event for the information you were looking?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Except for, only complaint I got is how light my wallet's going to be after the couple months.
Well, I like to say we're a 12-step program for Apple
Lord.
products here. So, you're kind of, this group is deaf to that.
I can't take it with me, so what the hell? I'm going to spend some of it.
Exactly.
What
So,
is the line? My name is George and I'm an Appleaholic.
yeah, there you go. That's
That's it.
exactly right.
That's it.
As we are, we should.
It's the same philosophy as, hey, I'm 80 years old. I'm going to have my first luxury car.
There you go. And
Yeah.
and Bob, is that your second car that's behind you?
No, that was my second car.
Yep, that's a
57 Chevy?
56 Chevy Bel Air.
55.
Oh, I'm sorry,
55.
55.
Oh,
So it's 1 year older than me.
Jeez.
All right. Any other questions before we head into the raffle? Great. So, Lisa, what is our number for both of our numbers?
For the attendees, it's 46. And for the all member, it is 313.
Okay. So we have 46 attendees, even though it says 47, it's all members or
And we have a duplicate login, so.
yeah, duplicate login. And so and help refresh my memory, we do 4 25s and then we do 200s plus the member or 100 plus the member.
2 100s and then 100 for the member.
Yeah,
So
it was
total of
400 total. So the way the raffle is, I will have Siri generate a random number for the first drawings. It will be a number between 1 and 46. If for some reason I slur and that doesn't get the correct number, no matter what number it draws, that drawing is out. I will have it redo it. We know that it's inclusive from 1 to 46 when it does it. And then the last drawing we'll have is the $100 Amazon gift card for the entire membership. And if in the regular membership one you win a $25 prize and then you win the $100 prize, you have to give one of those back. And my Amazon off. You have to give one of those back, and I would recommend that you give back the 25, and then we redraw it. But that's totally up to you. I don't want to have insider trading going on there. So, all right. So I will inject Siri here from the computer, and I will turn that volume back up so everyone can hear it. So for the first 4 $25 gift cards, give me a random number between 1 and 46. Give me a random number between 1 and 46.
It's 18.
18. And none of us have seen. Lisa is the one that has the numbers, so we have an air gap between there so that we won't there's no way I can see the numbers and she doesn't know what's being drawn.
It's Georgiana Alonso. Georgiana, go get that expensive map
Ooh,
you want.
Yeah.
put it towards that new phone.
Towards your new phone, yeah.
The phone, yeah.
Congratulations. All right. Once more.
Actually, it'll go for the telescope that will attach to the 13 probe camera.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a random number between 1 and 46.
The answer is 21.
21. 3 away.
Jim Park.
Jim what?
Jim Park.
Park. Oh, Jim Park.
Oh,
Hey,
Congratulations, Jim. One more. Give me a random number between 1 and 46.
It's 43.
43.
43. Roy Chastain.
All right, Roy, congratulations. Paid for your price of admission. Give me a random number between 1 and 46.
I'm not hearing you.
The answer is 2.
2.
2. All the way at the top. Barbara Badeau.
Barbara, congratulations.
Thank you.
So now we move on to one of the 2 $100 gift cards that are for the attendees.
Correct.
Give me a random number between 1 and 46.
It's 30.
30.
30. Keith McMahon.
Keith, congratulations. In fact,
Thank you.
Keith has a studio display and a Mac Studio on order, and I can't wait to see it.
You'll be the first one to know.
Yeah, this will put a little dent in it. Not a big dent, but a little dent. All right, next $100 gift card for the membership, or for the attendees, rather. Give me a random number between 1 and 46.
The answer is 22.
Wow. Real
Is it a 300 and something?
21.
Jane Hunter.
Okay, congratulations. What was the
Thank you.
Rich? Did somebody have a question there a minute ago?
Was that the last one for the whole membership?
No. These two were the last two
okay.
hundreds were for
I misunderstood. Sorry.
The one we're going to do now is for the entire membership, and give me a random number between 1 and 313. And while she's
The answer is 139.
139. While she's looking that up, it's a higher number than the earlier numbers. They're two different number sets. 139, Lisa?
Donna Olafson.
Donna. So we actually had someone that was attending for that.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
hey, and Lisa, when you do when you paste the email address, please just list email addresses as one group, because I have to go and cut the names out and everything.
So
in other words,
you just want email addresses.
Just email addresses, but you can separate them by the amount.
By the amounts. Gotcha.
It's a little bit easier for me because I copy and paste those in. So those will get emailed out to everyone tonight. I'm happy to field any last questions.
Thank you.
Anyone speak up? And other than that, good turnout. So I think we got most of the people that were trying to get here were here tonight. So
Yep.
good deal. And go spend your money.
Do we know what happened at the beginning, by the way?
Link messed up.
The link was, we had a bad link, and
The wrong link went out with the blast.
yeah. So we'll, and I didn't realize it until I was logging in 10 minutes before the meeting.
Well,
Oh.
I tried, I tried it a couple of times as unable or invalid ID. But then I went to the website and clicked on the notice for the general meeting, and it said, this is being used by another meeting. So
Yeah.
so that didn't work either.
Yeah, and we're gonna test it before. So the link we used here was our old link, and we should be using that again. So, and I'll get tonight I'll be uploading the video to YouTube, so it'll be there. It'll load overnight. So,
Hey, Ken, I got a question.
go ahead.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's legally blind, she actually can see a little bit. She's got an iPhone 8, and I think her grandkids did something to the phone, but when she says, hey Siri, I probably shouldn't say that.
No, you say
Oh,
you either say "Hey Shlomo" or you say
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Hey Siri, I probably
Exactly.
should.
sorry about
You
that.
say "Hey" and the word Siri. Just say that.
Anyways, when
Siri
she
off.
says that, it comes up with the the little fancy colored ball at the bottom, but also has a keyboard that pops up. And she's going, what's that? What's that? What's that? She gave me the phone to try to get rid of the keyboard. And the closest thing I could find is I went into accessories in Siri, and there's a option in there, type to Siri. Well, that's turned off. So I don't know where this keyboard is coming from. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, first of all, just don't touch it.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm going to look in accessibility. Did you look in accessibility?
yeah. That's where I'm at. Accessibility and Siri, and then the first option is type to Siri, and that's actually turned off.
Have you done a reset on the phone?
I did.
Okay. And it comes, so it's a iPhone what?
It's an iPhone 8, I believe.
Okay. So is she actuating Siri by using her voice or by using the button?
Her voice.
Okay. And you can also hold down the home button and get Siri also.
Yeah, I think she has that feature turned off.
Well, that'd be a good feature for her and I'm not sure if the keyboard would show up. So, boy, you got me on that one. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I'll keep rooting around with it, see if I can find something, but it is pretty weird.
Yeah, I've never seen it happen. So it's not.
And
So the other
you know,
thing,
I have, yeah, I was gonna say, I have something like that on a TV that's doing a voiceover, and no matter how many times I tell it to turn it off, it doesn't do it. So
yeah, that's
just-
totally different than having a keyboard pop up.
no, I know, but the turning it off, things just happen, it seems like.
So the other thing, it's Ray, right? That's got the
Yeah.
So there are. I would recommend going to Apple Support YouTube channel, not to fix this, but to look for other abilities with the phone for blind people. It's amazing what can be done there. So there's all kinds of directions, and even the Mac now can do everything with voice control. So you're going to go into Apple Support and look for voice control, and she can speak, and it'll do tons of different things.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, the accessibility that's in the OS is just amazing.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah. Thanks.
good question.
A couple links in the chat.
Oh, I'll put links in chat. Perfect. So, anybody
Oh.
else? Any other questions? Okay, well, I'll start emailing out the prizes.
Yeah, I'll get that email to you, Ken.
No problem.
Do you want the email addresses separated by commas or just
No, it-
space or?
if you could just do them on each line, works out.
Okay,
That
got
works
it.
fine. And then, yeah, just do them in the groups.
Yeah,
And I always copy you back on it too, so you have it.
right. Thank you. Got it. I'll get it to you.
Thank you very much. I'll stop the recording if I can get my cursor back. There it is. It gets hidden. All right.